Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols and I'm here to bring you Nichols Worth, and today we're going to tell the tale of the three Omegas. There was the first run of Omegas that was printed in the Netherlands by Royal Youngblood, and then there was their move to China. So the 75th and 80th year anniversaries that were in the Netherlands, but then sometime around the 80th anniversary they also switched them to the Chinese production and kind of passed them off as the 80th year anniversary, and they didn't really lower the prices, which I really think that was Crossway's primary mistake. I don't think their biggest mistake was moving to China, although I do believe that was probably not the greatest move, and that showed itself to be true. I think their biggest mistake was in two areas. Number one is they didn't lower the price when they moved production to China, and second, the quality control just wasn't there. There are several other publishers that do Chinese productions that don't have near the issues that Crossway had. But I do happen to have one of the good copies of the Chinese Omega, so we're going to take a quick look at it. All right, I did a ribbon replacement just because the ribbons are terrible. You've heard me talk about this often. But the big issue that people had with the Chinese Omega was the goat skin. The goat skin is just kind of not super high quality. This is a nice premium Bible, and I don't think anyone would argue with that, but it just wasn't in the heirloom class. Another area of concern is the corners. Now the corner work on this one, this is, like I said, this is actually one of the better ones. It's not the greatest example of the bad ones. The bad ones were terrible. Okay, it has your perimeter gilt line. It has your spine, which the spine doesn't look as good on this one. You can see it's a little crooked here. There's some quality issues with it, but as far as a Chinese production, this is one of the really good ones. The other issue that people had was with the text block. The text block is 36 GSM paper, and it just kind of has a rough feel to it, which I actually like. I'm one of the few that I would actually say I prefer the Chinese text block simply because the pages are so easy to turn. It's easy to get a good grip on them. So now let's look at the heirloom that has returned to the Netherlands. And let's start with the goat skin. Okay, there is a big difference. You will notice that this one kind of has more of a rough kind of, it just feels cheap. But this is nice and floppy. Nice gilt lines there, just beautiful corners. They skiv those corners out nice. See how you, let's take a look and compare real quick. Okay, see how these corners are just kind of humped up. They're not skived out very well. Those are nice and flat and rounded, and they're just perfect. Those are excellent corners. Now another big difference is the paper. This is a 28 GSM French Opaque paper. And you will notice to look, this one is more of kind of like a bright white, while this one kind of has more of a tint to it. I don't know how to describe the color. It's just a little bit more creamy. You will also notice, this was a big complaint with the Chinese Omega, is the ghosting isn't much better on this one. I think it is slightly better. I'm going to give it, probably a point or two better as far as ghosting goes. But what people really like about this paper is it's thin and it's opaque, and what that does is, check this out. Here's the Chinese Omega, and then here is the Netherlands Omega, and look how much thin that is. So this is a true, nice, thin line. Another thing that kind of suffered on the Chinese Omega was the spine, because you'll notice the hubs are raised, but they're not tooled. And you notice when they tool out the hubs, it just gives it this distinct, very sharp, very just professional look. Some people don't like the circle around the ESV. I don't mind that. I think both of these spines look nice, but it's definitely a notch up. And you can see, look, this kind of almost looks gray, the goat skin there, where this one really looks good and black. So they also brought it into the Horween Leather, which I've done a review on this. I'll go ahead and post that in the description. And I've actually also done a review on this. Beau Tate calls it the No Mega, and because I felt this was a good one, I called it the New Mega. I'll post Beau's video in the description as well, where he does a review and kind of gives you a breakdown of the differences as well. But anyway, we have the Horween Leather, which is beautiful. This is just a beautiful cover. I have been using this every day. I don't see much patina process happening. There's a little spot right there to where it's starting to wear off where I'm handling it, but this is like my prayer time Bible. I carry it when I pray, and when I need some devotion time, I'll read out of it. But anyhow, here's the story of how a community kind of voiced their displeasure. And a publisher, a big publisher, Crossway is a big publisher. They mass produce a lot of Bibles. And they heard a relatively small community. I would say that premium Bibles probably represent 5% of most of your Bible sales overall. Most people don't even know what a premium Bible is. Most people have never heard of goatskin Bibles. They don't know who Allen is. They've probably heard of Cambridge, but they don't know who Schuyler is. They definitely don't know like a Humble Lamb or some of these little publishers. And many of them not heard of Rebinds. So this is a very small niche community that a big publisher listened to. And I believe that merits our support. I believe that we need to acknowledge the fact that, hey, you know what? They took the step back into the Netherlands. They are paying the price, and they didn't raise the prices. They're still about what they were before. So kudos to Crossway for hearing the community and making some decisions to kind of appease that community and meet their needs. They do still offer some premium Bibles in the Chinese production, your ESV Preaching Bible and several others, but their heirloom series has been moved back to Netherlands. I think it was a solid move, and I think that the quality control issues are going to be addressed because they're not even going to need to inspect as many of them. But this is really nice, and it's a pretty neat story about how a big publisher listened to a small community. So anyhow, there you have it. This is your Nicholsworth. Keep calm, Jesus on.